everyone, welcome back to Hostel Discourse, episode 5. Yay! This week, we'll be discussing Kobe's recent retirement, other sports legends, as well as some other NBA topics. And our debate of the week is, where does Kobe rank among the greats in the NBA?
Tough question.
So, first-time guest this week, Chris Fisher on the show.
Yo!
Welcome.
What up, Chris?
What's up?
And returning guest Noah Roberts was just here last week.
Hello again.
Thanks for being here.
He did so well. We brought him back.
And with us, as always, Joe and Jared, my roomies in the hostel.
Woohoo!
Rain Kane.
All right, so here's an intro question for this week. Who is your favorite athlete of all time? Doesn't have to be basketball, but any sport.
Well, I'm going to go with an Arkansas Razorback since I'm from Fayetteville, and it's Darren McFadden. He was amazing in college, and he's like pretty not good in the pros, but he was the closest thing we ever had to like a Heisman winner. So
I've
D-Mac.
never heard of him.
Yeah, that's all right.
Huh, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. He was awesome.
Solid NFL
D-Mac for
player.
Heisman.
Real solid.
Not too bad for the Raiders. I'm going to go with, and it wasn't as easy as maybe some other guys, but I'm going to go with Albert Pujols. Even though he left the Cardinals, even though he betrayed me and went to the Angels, I still found myself rooting for him. I really like him as a guy, so Albert Pujols. Just saw he hit his 564th home run the other day. 564 and 565 in the same game. So, well on his way to 600.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'll never forget his wife came and spoke at our high school.
Yeah.
I don't remember what she said, but I remember Pujols' wife spoke to us.
Yeah.
Mine is by no means the best, but just my current favorite, Kirk Cousins, who plays for the Redskins, obviously. But the main reason that he's my favorite is because he helped to carry my fantasy football team to victory last fall. So,
Yeah.
So
What was his
selfish
one?
reasons.
you like that?
You
Yeah.
like that? That was
Kept
pretty
yelling
Oh,
at
yeah.
the. So yeah, he's pretty cool.
He's all right.
I'm gonna draft him first next fantasy football season.
Manchester.
Bull.
Chris, what about you?
My favorite is a no-brainer. My favorite athlete for as long as I can remember has been Peyton Manning. And I grew up a huge Broncos fan, but Peyton was always my favorite player. So when they joined forces, it was the most beautiful marriage in the world. And the last 4 years have been the peak of my fanship.
Nice.
Pretty good gig.
Mine is George St. Pierre, French-Canadian UFC fighter.
GSP.
Former welterweight champion. His poster is right behind me on my wall right now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
a little more mainstream athlete. If some of you haven't even heard of GSP, probably Roger Federer. He's just a really nice guy, ridiculously good athlete, and
Ridiculously
This is-
good looking.
yeah,
Ridiculously
that's what I thought you were
good
gonna say.
flow.
yeah, he's in some cool commercials, and just how old he is, and he can still destroy most people in tennis. So
Except for Djokovic.
Nobody likes
And
him.
Rafa.
Well,
yeah, nobody likes
Yeah,
that guy.
nobody does.
Does anybody like Rafa? I like Rafa. He's pretty cool.
I like Rafa. I heard a cool story about him once that made me like him more. So, Rafa, there was a little article that one of my best friends grew up playing tennis and was really top-ranked Australian tennis player, youth, came over here to play D1 tennis. And he told me that a really famous tennis writer, like the most famous in the world, was flying to the French Open and was flying in first class because he's kind of a big deal, especially in Europe. And Rafa just walked right past him, and he's like, Rafa, I had no idea you'd be on this flight, blah, blah, blah. And Rafa's like, yeah. He's like, you sitting up here next to me? He's like, oh, no, I fly coach every time. And so it was just kind of a cool perspective. So Rafa's sitting in coach, and I love Fed too, but Fed takes his private jet everywhere, which I would too, but
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Is GSP gonna come back? Isn't, like, people talk about that?
So GSP went out on a win, which really shouldn't have been given to him. Johnny Hendricks, he beat him in a decision, but everyone thought Johnny Hendricks actually won. GSP has still been training and is rumored to come back. People are hoping for the UFC 200 fight in July, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. GSP, you can tell he wants to come back, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll actually happen. I hope.
Speaking of UFC 200, there's been Some big headlines there.
Yeah, John Jones versus Daniel Cormier announced today, I think.
Despite McGregor saying that he was back in on his Twitter.
So some recent developments in the NBA world. Kobe retired after a ridiculously good last game. What do you guys think of that performance and his retirement in general?
I thought it was vintage Kobe. I wouldn't have wanted to see him go out any other way. Chucking up 50 shots, scoring 60 points.
A record 50 shots.
Scoring the game winner for his team via the free throw line. I just thought it was the perfect way for him to go out, perfect way for him to leave the NBA. I liked the little speech that he gave at the end. Mamba out.
Mamba out. Drop the mic.
Couldn't
Set
have,
the mic down.
Couldn't have been rigged any better.
Hey, now. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, I'm not even a huge Kobe fan at all, and it was fun to watch for sure. 60 points. He started off terrible, and we all took bets. Chris asked us before that game how much we thought he was going to score. I said 17. I should have known he was going to put up something ridiculous. But he started off bad, so I thought I had it.
Like, was the whole first half, was he doing bad?
No,
No,
just like
he
the
caught
first
fire
3 or 4
eventually.
minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I said 28 points or something.
For me, the whole Kobe retirement year has been interesting because up until the final game, it was almost just kind of a topic for discussion of whether or not players or current athletes should do the so-called farewell tour, where you announce your retirement and play a season, and then you get kind of all this self-praise and all these accolades when you play your last game in each of these arenas. And it was kind of fun to see Kobe play all his last games. He had some cool gifts given to him, and he gave away some cool gifts and all that stuff. But that being said, his last game was the most entertaining thing I've watched sports-related in as long as I can remember, probably over the last year at least. It was, I mean, I don't even know how I ended up watching it because ever since I got married, just naturally end up watching fewer sports events than I used to.
Sad.
But as far as pure entertainment value, I mean, Kobe going for 60, and they needed every last point to win the game and come back from, I think they were down 12 or something. It was just, and he was making vintage Kobe shots. It was super exciting.
What criteria do you have to meet in order to have a farewell tour like that? Like, how many other players get that?
There have been, I don't know about in basketball, but like Derek Jeter had one in baseball, and he's one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
For sure.
I don't know what the criteria is, but I don't know. Do you guys know?
I can't think of anyone other than Derek Jeter. He might have been the first to kind of debut the, hey guys, I'm going to retire at the end of the season.
It seems to be kind of a baseball thing because David Ortiz is in the midst of one now.
Yeah, he just announced
And
earlier.
Mariano Rivera kind of had one, but not nearly to the extent of Jeter. It seems like, I agree with you, Noah. I think Jeter was the first one where people started attaching the farewell tour phrase to it, if I can remember.
What do you think of the farewell tour? Like, is it? You think it's cool? Do you think it's like way overrated or?
I really liked it. I think what kind of separates normal players from these types of players are these are guys that have been kind of the face of the MLB in Derek Jeter's case or the NBA for Kobe Bryant. And so it's kind of a way of the whole league saying thank you for your 20 years of, being a part of this and
your millions of dollars generated for
yeah.
us.
Well, yeah. But no, I mean, Jeter and Kobe have obviously both been really great ambassadors for their respective games, and they've forever changed their sports.
Yeah, but even beyond the league saying thank you, like he goes to all these other arenas and fans of other teams give him standing ovations
Right.
all those nights. So it's like the league saying thank you, all the fans just like who enjoyed watching him.
I think like as a different aspect than that one is like looking at Peyton Manning's. It wasn't a farewell tour at all, and like no one really knew if he was going to retire or not. So like he just kind of did it at the last second. I don't know. I kind of liked how that went, more so than like having a year to like praise yourself on how good you did. I don't know. I think that should just happen after the fact. But I liked how Peyton did it.
Well, the only difference is I don't think Peyton, by any means, was close to knowing what he was going to do at the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, if you know you're gonna retire, I don't think there's any problem being like, oh, I'm gonna retire. I'm just not a huge fan of like hyping it up and like making it about you. I don't know.
I agree with you on that, and I think where the farewell tour gets obnoxious to me is nothing that the player does, but the kind of exogenous sources that can really overdo it. Like, I remember, I think it was Derek Jeter's last game in Houston. They brought out this like embroidered, probably $20,000 pair of Derek Jeter cowboy boots and made a big ceremony. And I was just like, this is over the top and kind of annoying. So, but back to your original question, I think it's kind of arbitrary as far as what determines who's big enough of a deal to have a farewell tour. But you have to be a huge deal because we've seen really good players announce their retirement preseason, and this hasn't really happened until the last 3 years or so.
Yeah.
So
I think it's one of those things where you might not be able to define it, but you know the player when you see him. I don't know, like everyone just knew, okay, Derek Jeter decided he's going to retire at the end of the season. Everyone is going to do something for him, or it's going to be a big event. Same thing with Kobe. I'm not sure if David Ortiz is quite on that same level, but it'll be interesting to see how the season develops.
Quick aside
For sure
Big
in
Papi.
Boston, but elsewhere.
I think he's got a chance to go down as the best postseason player of all time. At least hitter. Best postseason hitter of all time. He's batting like over 500. I might have made that up.
Ortiz?
Yeah, in the postseason. Someone's probably got to fact check me on that. But all I know is in 2013, he hit like 700 for the postseason when they won the World Series. And he doesn't do that consistently, but like he's super high consistently in the postseason. Maybe Ted Williams is.
Just naming all these Red Sox.
Yeah, I am.
What about
so
Reggie
I
Jackson?
just real quick pulled up the all-time leaders in a few postseason categories. And I'm not seeing Big Papi on the top 10 of any of them.
All right.
Not to knock you.
What's his?
Plate appearances.
What's his average? Can you find his average?
I will find it.
I have like
I'm just
a
betting
list
it's
year by year.
close to 400.
No, it's not. He's had like really good years, but he's had some years where he was like .083 for a batting average. Postseason.
Jeez.
Which really begs the question why we've been talking about batting average when it's a very archaic statistic.
No, God.
Plus,
It's the 21st century, guys.
in 2013 he was .688, which is pretty outstanding postseason. But
Okay, I was wrong.
Well, I don't think you're wrong by any means because he's had some incredible postseason moments. Those bombs in the Red Sox first World Series in whatever 80-something years it was.
Yeah.
That is one of the coolest baseball memories I can think of.
Back to the NBA. The playoffs are going on right now. I think 8 teams left. Who do you guys think are going to win?
Ooh, that changed a whole lot in the last week, Big D.
Yeah, a whole lot.
What happened?
I think Steph Curry going down and Chris Paul and Blake Griffin definitely makes the Spurs the favorite to win the Western Conference and the whole thing.
They are. So Vegas, if you ever want to follow who the general public thinks the favorite is, after Steph Curry went down, the Spurs gained a very slight edge over the Golden State Warriors, who before that were the hands-down favorite to win the title because they set the all-time record for wins in a regular season, but they lost their best player. But it seems like he has a good chance to be back to play against what would likely be the Spurs, but could be the Thunder. And not to get too far off topic, but as I scroll down here, I'm seeing David Ortiz in a lot more top 10. So I don't want to throw Jared under the bus. He's top 10 in RBI, walks, home runs, doubles, total bases. So I think I just didn't scroll far enough down.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I do think something that the Warriors do have going in their favor is how long the NBA playoffs are. I mean, we won't crown a winner of the NBA Finals until June.
Jeez, it goes that long?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Steph Curry definitely has time to heal and come back. I just don't know if there's just a lot of questions about if/when he comes back, if he'll be able to play at the same level that he was throughout the regular season.
What injury does he have?
Sprained knee?
Yeah, sprained medial collateral ligament,
Yeah.
as Dr. Kuiper would tell you.
MCL for short.
So I do think, speaking more about the playoffs, the Thunder Spurs series should be pretty exciting.
Oh yeah.
Being in Oklahoma, I really want to see the Thunder do well. I don't have my hopes too high, but
Yeah, man. The Spurs, like 4 years ago, I was saying these guys are way too old. You know, the Heat or whoever going to beat them, and they just keep coming back.
yeah,
It's amazing.
they do. And now they have younger guys and Kawhi
Yeah.
Leonard and Danny Green that will keep the franchise going for years to
Yeah.
come.
What about the Cavs? Your boys.
The Cavs,
Your boy.
my boy. I'm a shameless LeBron apologist / follower, so I don't root for a particular NBA team. I jump wherever LeBron jumps. But I've kind of
So embarrassing.
I've waned a little bit on that in the last year or two. As far as the Cavaliers' chances go, it's interesting because the way that the NBA has set up over the last 3 or 4 years, they've basically, whatever team LeBron has been on, has had a cakewalk to the NBA Finals because the East is just super weak in comparison to the West. So you've got probably at least the 2 best teams in basketball are on the Western Conference, and you can make an argument that 4 or 5 of the best of the top 4 or 5 teams are in the West. So they have this big advantage of being able to reach the finals without much competition. That being said, they've gotten their butts kicked pretty handily when they've played Golden State, and they met in the finals last year. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love were also out, but long story short, Steph Curry going down gives them a lot more hope, I think, than previously. But it'll all be kind of dependent on where he is when he comes back.
Do they make the finals for sure?
No, but it would be a huge surprise if they didn't.
Who could you see in the East beating them? Toronto,
Oh,
Atlanta.
it's hard to really picture anybody beating them. If there was a team, maybe Toronto, or the team I would pick to give the Cavs the best run would be Miami. They've struggled most against Miami. I think I saw something that the Cavs are 0-13 or something in Miami since LeBron came back to Cleveland. Something
Dang.
like that. So they pose a serious threat to the Cavs. But Miami's missing also its second best player in Chris Bosh, and they're still objectively not as good of a team as the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I just like to say that Chris is wearing a Russell Westbrook shirt.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like a Russell Westbrook jersey. It's a shirt with a cartoon version of Russell Westbrook on the front.
It's a pretty sweet shirt.
It's almost bobblehead proportions.
I'll
Yeah,
keep
it
it.
is.
Yeah, I got this from my cousin. I took it out of his closet because I thought it was funny.
You got it from
What,
your
the
cousin, or you
stealing
just
part?
stole it from
Yeah.
your cousin?
No, he had 2. I don't know why he had 2. He's like, here, you can have this if you want.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, I think we have gotten to our debate of the week, which is, where does Kobe rank among the greats of the NBA?
Oh man.
Oh, man.
No, I know you got some
I
thoughts.
think okay, so going back to the beginning when David was asking us who our favorite athletes of all time were, Kobe was definitely near the top. I know I'm from St. Louis, but my dad grew up in Los Angeles, and without an NBA team in St. Louis, the Lakers were always my favorite team growing up. So I've really been attached to Kobe ever since I can remember watching basketball. So he's really just kind of always been my favorite basketball player. Except for maybe a few years when he was still playing with Shaq. But for as long as he's been a Laker, which is a long time, he's been my favorite. I'm probably the biggest Kobe apologist here. I think he's a great player, and I would rank him easily in the top 5, if not number 2, behind Michael Jordan.
I'll butt in real quick. So I don't really watch NBA, so I'm not going to have much of an opinion on this debate, but I will try to be the unbiased judge and see who gives the best argument, and maybe we can pick a winner. So,
Pressure.
Right, continue.
I probably shouldn't put in too much input either, but I'd also like to voice some opinions if people have them. But yeah, I just haven't been around basketball that much. I love basketball, I love playing it, but just NBA-wise, I don't watch it too much. But I'm sure the experts in the room will give us something to think about.
Chris, where do you put him?
So I want to preface my stance before we get too far down the road, because I'm going to be arguing against Kobe being in the top 5 and also the top 10 of all time. That being said, we're talking about whether someone is in the top 10, top 5, or top 20 of greatest basketball players of like 7 billion people of all time. So I think Kobe's incredible.
Everyone in the world.
And I'm a Kobe fan. I want that to be known. I don't want to be seen as a Kobe hater here. I'm just trying to take the most objective approach, and I think sometimes our passions and our kind of childhoods can,
Your nostalgia
put blinders on us a
blinding,
little bit.
Dang,
It sounds
Chris
like you're
just
about to
throw me under
say-
the bus here.
I'm not
sounds
trying
like
to
you're about to
throw you
hate
under the bus. I hate Kobe. Just kidding.
Jared, is he in or out?
He's in. After much research,
In what, top 10? Or
top 10. Top 10.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
Not top 5?
Not top 5, because the other old guy, Timmy D, is sitting pretty at 5. Kobe's right there at 6.
Really?
Yep. I got to put Timmy D ahead. So, yeah, Kobe makes top 10, right in the middle at 6.
Well,
yeah.
I'll say a little bit like why, even with my certain biases, I would put him in the top 5 and probably at number 2. As objective as Chris chooses to be with his ranking, which I think is a very valid approach, I'm a much bigger fan of the eye test.
That eye candy.
No, using the eye test in addition to statistics. So
Yeah, Kobe is really good looking.
no,
Super handsome guy.
when I say eye test, I
Great
mean
teeth.
like watching them play basketball.
Lean muscle.
Oh, yeah, lean muscle,
A
too.
lot of lean muscle.
So I just think, watching him play in addition to the statistics, in addition to some other intangibles, which are intangibles, so meaning you can't really put your finger on them. I think Kobe is second only to Michael Jordan when it comes to basketball players. I think my best argument for that, even though, like I said, much of my argument is subjective, would be the will to win factor.
What factor is he? Is he like a 7?
Oh, well, see, this is like I said, subjective. So a lot of it would be the eye test. A lot of it's just kind of thinking about teams that Kobe's been on. But I think Kobe's will to win really takes him further and above many other NBA players in that he's not going to allow his team to lose. Obviously, that doesn't work all the time. Otherwise, he'd win every NBA championship. But I think, especially after Shaq left Los Angeles, Kobe was still able to keep the Lakers playing at a very high level and to capture 2 championships on his own.
Took a little while.
Took a few seasons, but
With you going down that road, that raises the question: when we're making our top 10, top 20 list, are we talking about the best basketball players of all time in terms of effect they had in actual games while playing, or are we talking about the most talented and gifted basketball players of all time? Because I think that's the difference between my approach and your approach. Because I think we can all agree Tim Duncan is all-time most boring player to watch, or at least up there, maybe top 5. But as far as value added to his team and overall contribution to winning individual basketball games, he jumps way up to what I would say is top 10, right around where Kobe is. Jared a little higher, Noah a little lower, something like that.
Well, I mean, I think basketball is unique in that it's a team sport, but you can really see, like, individualistically, like, how athletes are, like, how good they are at the sport more than other sports. Because, I mean, they're different positions, but compared to, like, football, I don't know, it's hard to compare every person on the field, but in basketball, pretty much everyone's playing the same game. They're performing the same function on the court to a certain extent. So, I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to balance, like, individualistically, like, how good they are and how they push their team ahead. But I don't know if there's, like, a definitive, this is what a great basketball player is.
Well, let's just address the question now. What are we using to define what we mean when we say best all-time basketball players?
Not championships.
That's a good question. Do championships matter?
Well, more of like a general topic.
So is it
first,
like individual stats or team wins, are you saying?
I'm saying, are we when we say the best NBA players of all time, are we saying the people that were the most talented, or are we saying the people that had the greatest contribution to winning basketball games?
So, for example, Kobe is one of maybe a few players ever, maybe just two, that can make some of the shots he can make, right? So, like, skill-wise,
Sure, yeah.
he might be top two.
Yeah.
But total contribution, maybe not, because he's a super good scorer, and he's a good defender. But other than that, he's not a great passer. He's not a great rebounder. So, like, total contribution, he would drop compared to skill. That's the question, right?
Yeah, and the kind of point I'm alluding to, one is that we can pretty well objectively look at who adds the most value to actually winning basketball games, which I think is each player's objective. And kind of to go off, I think, a point that you're going to make pretty soon here, Jared, so I don't want to steal all your thunder, but I think big men in the NBA, your 7-footers, often are quite underrated as basketball players, especially when we get into this all-time ranks, because they're just not as much fun to watch. But their effect on the game is, in certain players' aspects, phenomenal. And so you mentioned Wilt Chamberlain earlier, and he was the first real 7-footer the NBA saw. And I'll let you go through his stats, but if you put his contribution, granted he was playing against a lot smaller players back in the 60s than we have now.
Yeah.
But if you compare that to what Kobe does now or what Allen Iverson did, it's not nearly as much fun to watch Wilt, but in my opinion, and I think objectively, he added more value to any team you would put him on as opposed to a Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I can see that. Here are Wilt's stats. Career. He averaged 30.1 points per game. He's like
tied for first of all time.
Yeah, tied for first of all time, but he's got like a few hundredths of a point less than MJ. Yeah, so, but technically tied for first. 30.1 points per game, 22.9 rebounds per game. On his career, he averaged over 30 points and almost 23 rebounds. It's mind-boggling. 4.4 assists. They didn't keep blocks, steals, or turnovers when he played.
Which blocks would have been out of the house too.
Yeah. And he shot 54% in his career. He was on the All-NBA defensive team 2 times. So, great defender. The biggest thing about Wilt and Kareem and some of these guys is era. Because, I mean, like you said, Wilt was unbelievable, and I'm sure he'd be awesome in today's NBA. But I'd be shocked if he put up 30 and 23 every game. You know?
He definitely wouldn't.
I really think that's a good point, and I think this is something that will be interesting to see with Steph Curry and kind of the newest iteration of NBA basketball is Like Wilt was very dominant in his era, and his team was very successful. Also, Bill Russell, another
Yeah.
extremely talented big man. You know, through the 90s or in the 80s with Magic and Larry Bird, they had a very distinctive style. The 90s were obviously dominated by Michael Jordan. And then even into the 2000s and the 90s, I guess, like with Hakeem and really big guys were still very dominant. But I can't name one dominant big man that I would even compare to a Shaquille O'Neal or a Wilt Chamberlain in the NBA right now. I think the most recent one that I can remember would be Dwight Howard, and obviously he's still playing, but
Yeah, he sucks now.
he's just not good.
Anthony Davis is getting there.
I agree, but even Anthony Davis, he's a much more versatile player than these guys that would stand on the block.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how the NBA continues to change, and teams like the Warriors that are built around three-pointers continue to dominate.
So do you think it's kind of like an evolution of the game? Like big men stood out more then, but are there more big men just like on average? Is everybody taller now than it was in the 80s? Like, is that why they're not standing out as much?
There could be, like,
I mean, also, there's a 3-point line now, and
Yeah.
that only happened
it stretches the court
not
out.
super long ago. So now guards actually are point-wise more valuable. If like a Steph Curry who can shoot 50% three-pointers is more valuable than Shaq who's shooting 60% twos. I mean, maybe not Shaq. I don't know, but your general big man.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with Jared. I think we're seeing the game change right now. It's sort of how baseball changed in the early 2000s, the kind of Moneyball era, basically because it took a few decades for some smart nerds that probably never played sports before to show, hey, these statistics that we're using to evaluate baseball players probably aren't actually the most effective statistics of accurately assigning who are the best players in this game and who are the most valuable players in this game. And that, in a certain sense, is happening in basketball. And I must, disclaimer, I am an analytics follower, and I've drank the Kool-Aid and all that.
Disciple.
Yeah. So we're seeing that, like Jared said, that people are starting to really recognize the importance of the three-point line. And so it's not so much that players are getting taller. I actually saw, I think the average height in the NBA, I saw some weird graphic a few months ago. I think it peaked around the late 90s as far as all the history we have right now, but it's still about the same. It wasn't a big drop-off since then. But you're seeing big men who 30 years ago would have been raised through high school and college to stand right under the basketball hoop with their back to the basket, put a shoulder in somebody, and do a textbook Joe Kuiper layup. Those big men now are growing up handling the ball in middle school and shooting threes through high school and college. And so you see a lot more guys like that are just freakish talents like Kevin Durant, who is, for all intents and purposes, a 7-footer. I think he's 6'11" or something, who's one of the best shooters in the NBA and handles the ball like, a small guard. So I think we're seeing the game change.
And that change, plays to Kobe's favor, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I don't think Kobe quite capitalized on the change like other players may have.
Yeah. His prime was, probably before that change really occurred, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my case for why Kobe's number 6, right in the middle, why he's not number 2, and why he's actually in the top 10. It's simply because, I'm going with Chris's kind of definition here. The best player is the one who contributes the most to his team. So Kobe, I think he's top 3, just pure skill. No one can make some of the shots he can make. But he just can't do it all like some of the players could, So here's my top 4. MJ, Wilt, Kareem, big one, LeBron at number 4.
I don't blame
I
you.
think that's absolute trash.
Why
Top
is that
5.
trash?
And then Timmy D at number 5, Kobe at 6. Because I'm not taking into consideration championships.
Yeah. Okay, real quick. By no means do I think championships should be like a cornerstone argument when talking about best players of all time. Otherwise, Bill Russell will blow everyone else out of the water.
Exactly.
Can we all agree on that real quick?
Yeah.
Is everyone on the same boat?
But I do
I
think
think so.
that they do have a role, albeit somewhat minor. I think it's important that like someone like Karl Malone or John Stockton didn't win a championship. And I think there's something that in the back of your head knows that, even if you look at stats. I mean, Karl Malone's the second highest scorer all time. But
Cumulatively, not on a per game basis.
Sure. But that shows longevity and ability to continue to play at a high level.
So do you think that...
I guess what I'm saying is, keep going.
I was going to say, do you think that not winning a championship shows that you don't have a will to win, perhaps, or you're not good enough to build a great team around, or something like that?
Going back, I think it just shows that some of the intangibles aren't there.
Like leadership or
Yeah.
teamwork.
And like I said, will to win.
Yeah.
I think
I have
certainly. I mean, there's no denying the fact that the Jazz ran into the brick wall that was the Bulls in the late '90s, but Malone and Stockton were together for a long time,
yeah.
and they were never able to
Chris
get over
is
that
not
hump.
pleased.
No, I'm quite pleased. This is very fun. I'm enjoying being
What
here.
about Scottie Pippen?
Yeah, I mean, but
Scotty's the best. Scotty's the best, like,
number two.
yeah, number two.
I always wanted him on my NBA hang time team just for the green hair. You could change the color of his
Are you
hair.
talking about Dennis Rodman?
He's the one that goes to North Korea and hangs out with Kim Jong-il.
Who did I say?
Scottie Pippen.
Scottie Pippen.
I would have them too because they both played on the Bulls, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's yeah.
Great
I'm not-
NBA hang time voice impression, by the way.
Thank you.
So, okay, back to the will to win thing.
Here we go.
It's not that I disagree with that, nor do I disagree with leadership, but I think just because Kobe and Michael had a certain personality where it was a lot more transparent to us, the public fans, I think it's seriously knocking a ton of players to say that Kobe and Michael had this will to win that was so much better than everybody else's. Because Tim Duncan, I can't say he has any less of a will to win, or might even have more of a will to win than Kobe. He just doesn't express it the same way.
Less facial expressions.
Yeah, he's got some actually pretty funny.
All he does
intense-
is throw up his hands at the referee.
Yeah, or he does this with the basketball where he crosses his arms over and gives a little hug.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so just because they expressed it a lot more openly and were a lot more vocal, and granted, like, I loved it. I love it when Kobe yells at his teammates. I love it when Michael talks a ton of trash to players. I heard a story on the radio the other day where MJ used to wait outside the stadium when the playoffs rolled around, and he would stand right outside his Ferrari leaning up against it with a huge cigar in his mouth right before the game. And when the team got off the bus, he's just like, which one of you guys is going to try to guard me tonight?
I love
just
it.
like every time. And so that's awesome as fans to see that and hear about that. And there's all these legends. I just don't want to overlook the will to win of Tim Duncan or the will to win of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or the will to win of LeBron. I think they all have an incredible drive that we can't really quantify, especially when it's expressed differently.
I think Tim Duncan's top 10. I just think he doesn't quite get to the point where... I'm not trying to knock Tim Duncan. There's a reason why the Spurs have... Okay, we're going back to championships. There's a reason why the Spurs have won 5 championships. But I just think he doesn't have that next level that Kobe or MJ had.
Can I ask you why you think it's so egregious to have LeBron ranked ahead of Kobe on the all-time
That's
list?
definitely just a...
Hate LeBron, love Kobe thing.
Yeah, I mean,
James.
there's definitely a lot of just personal bias there. To a certain extent, I just really don't like him. I didn't like the whole decision thing. I didn't like...
He's kind of annoying.
That was ridiculous.
I didn't like
hated
his
that.
time in Miami. I didn't like...
I decided to take my talents to South Beach or whatever.
Yeah. I think LeBron's just a little bit immature.
Does that have anything to do with the game of basketball, though?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it's definitely personal
Let
bias.
me-
I think I'll say this about LeBron: his size and the way that he plays is so different, I think, than many of the other players that are even talked about as being in the top 5. You know, if you look at Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, they played almost the exact same way. And I love watching the videos on YouTube
That's great.
of them kind of side by side or kind of even intermixed playing the game the same way. But because LeBron is a little bit taller and definitely a little bit thicker, he's able to control the paint a little bit better, and he's able to stretch the floor better. So there's no denying that LeBron's a great player. I just think some personal biases get in the way of me saying that he's.
Let me just explain. I'm
Top 5.
going to explain real quick why LeBron is better than Kobe. LeBron's got, it's hard to say because he's still playing and he's got like probably a pretty good amount of time left to play. So who knows what will happen. Kobe did it for 20 years. And
Is this LeBron's 12th season?
2003 to
13th? Okay.
yeah. Here's LeBron's season stats, per game stats for his career up to this point. He scores 27 points a game. Kobe scored 25 over his 20 years. He gets over 7 rebounds per game. Kobe got 5. He gets 6.9 assists. Kobe had 4.7. He gets 0.3 more steals than Kobe, 0.3 more blocks, and he shoots 5% better. So when we talk about contribution to the team, he's got a long way to go. He's got a lot of seasons to go. But so far he's just better. Like he's just a better player statistically, and he's got. If championships may not matter a lot, it may matter a little bit. He's got a few championships. His teams were great. Kobe's teams were great.
Jared, just for clarity,
Yeah.
you said he has a long way to go. Are you saying if he never played another game of basketball again, he would still be number 4 on your list right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So he could fall.
So what would this could be a whole nother discussion. What would it take for LeBron to surpass, Kareem or Wilt
Or
on your list?
MJ?
Or MJ?
I think he's got a much better chance to go down as, at the least, an equal to MJ, if not better, than most people give him. I still think right now Michael Jordan is the best all-time player. I don't think it's by this huge margin that a lot of people make it out to be. Let me tell you real quick why I think Kobe is out of the top 10. And it's not far out of the top 10. And I hope I don't undermine this entire podcast, because leading up to the NBA season, ESPN and all their fancy analysts put out a list of the 100 best players of all time that they released slowly throughout the weeks, and they probably have more credentials than we do, if we're being honest.
No.
Yeah, definitely not. I was just trying to be coy.
Expert discussion.
So they have Kobe at number 12 all time, which is about where I have him. And they have LeBron already at number 3 of all time. And Kobe, despite the cold-blooded killer and scorer that we all kind of remember him to be, he's outside the top 10 in points per game. He's not close in assists or rebounds. And he was a solid defender, really good one. But we don't really remember him for his defense. So he's outside the top 10 on just about any per-game category that we look at pretty commonly. I think the biggest knock on Kobe when we're having these comparisons is he just wasn't nearly as efficient as some of these other players are. So he shot a career field goal percentage of 44.7%, 45%, and he shot an effective field goal percentage, which is just field goal percentage that accounts for the value of three-pointers. So a three-pointer is 1.5 field goals to where a two-pointer is 1 field goal, of 48.2%. And if we go and rank it all time, you've got Shaq leading the way at 58%. anyone want to take a guess who's number 2 on effective field goal percentage, where 3-pointers are accounted for?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, which is
That makes sense.
This is another topic, but why I think Steph Curry has a chance to go down as the greatest basketball player of all time.
Gosh, that's ridiculous.
I completely agree. And I think, like what I said earlier, the next 5 to 10 years of NBA basketball, I think, will be very interesting.
Yeah. Agreed.
I want to clarify my "that's ridiculous" statement. I sounded really animated towards the Steph thing. I was talking more about his field goal percentage. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
So the list is Shaq, Steph Curry, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So big man, little 6'2" Steph, Kareem, Charles Barkley, Wilt Chamberlain, Adrian Dantley, and then we have LeBron James coming in at number 8. And I want to make my quick statement on how I would evaluate the best player of all time. This is not a perfect statistic. It's young, and it has flaws. So I want to get those little precursors out there. But a stat, basically the way that I would quantify the best player of all time would be if you could somehow perfectly rate everything a player does and every effect it has in a game, everything from scoring the basketball to setting up teammates to defense and taking away team's best players and making blocks, yada, yada, yada. So the player efficiency rating came out 3 or 4 years ago. It's a pretty complicated stat. But if you look at it all time, the leader, as far as we have to filter out for people that have played probably at least 800 games or so. But Michael Jordan ranks at 27.91, which I know that number doesn't mean anything because we're not familiar with the stat. And number 2 is LeBron at 27.65, so not far behind. Number 3 is Shaq. And so basically the idea behind this stat is that it recognizes all positive contributions of a player and it subtracts all negative contributions that a player has. So it really emphasizes defense, it emphasizes efficiency, hence player efficiency rating. And just for perspective, we don't see Kobe until
Kobe?
number 27 on the list.
Okay, I'm surprised by that a little bit. Well, maybe not because you're right, he only shot 45%, which is a lot less than the other guys on my top 10.
Chris, those were good final remarks to your position. Noah and Jared, how about you give your concluding statements, and then we can decide the winner.
All right.
Joe, you can help me decide.
All right, well, here's my final remarks. Chris mentioned defense just now. Kobe is one of 2 players, the other being MJ, to be elected to the All-NBA defensive team 9 times in his career. And so I think he's an underrated defensive player. You don't, like Chris said, we don't think of him as a defensive player, but I mean that kind of goes to show that he was just awesome at defense too. But since I'm defining this as not just pure skill but contribution to the team, Kobe's contribution is he scores 25 points a game, sometimes in ridiculous ways, sometimes 80 points a game and 60 points a game.
Just one time, 80 points a game.
Yeah, okay, right. So he's one of the best scorers of all time. The 9-time defensive player makes him one of the best defenders of all time, even though we don't think of him that way. But he just doesn't have rebounds, assists. He's inefficient. So he's not quite well-rounded enough to put him in top 5 or top 3. But defense, scoring, I'll throw in intangibles, even though it's maybe not the best. They get him in the top 10. 6 is the number.
Yeah. I think I would just reiterate what I said earlier. A lot of it is the eye test. A lot of it is personal biases. I will end
That's
with
a good argument.
I will end with my favorite Kobe play ever. And that is not even him scoring the basketball. It's the play from the, I believe, 2000 playoffs when the Lakers were playing the Portland Trailblazers, and you see Kobe bring it down the court, throw an alley-oop to Shaquille O'Neal, and it's just the most awesome play ever. I think Chris is probably going to look it up, but that's one of my earliest memories as a basketball fan, And
Is that the peak value on the eye test scale?
maybe, yeah. Earliest memory as a basketball fan
Wow.
gets you pretty high in my book. I would definitely put Shaq up there. And again, that's probably personal bias, but I think if Shaq and Kobe had worked out their differences, they could have won 6, 7 championships
agreed.
together. If Shaq would have, maybe it could just be Kobe being a little butthole and here it is. Okay, I shouldn't watch.
What are you showing?
Oh, it's so pretty.
The alley-oop.
I love Shaq's face.
Shaq's reaction is
worth it.
perfect.
Yeah.
If you haven't already looked it up, you should go look it up. But I think if Kobe would have understood that Shaq was actually like having a hard time with his body and wouldn't have gotten so mad that he wasn't working out the same as Kobe or wasn't putting in as many hours in the gym, the two of them with Phil Jackson could have won, I think, more championships than Michael and Scottie Pippen. So
I agree.
Shaq didn't use enough icy hot, I guess.
No, real quick before David shuts us up, was Kobe the best player on his team for his first 3 NBA championships?
no.
All right.
All right. Joe, let's dismantle these positions and decide who had the least bad argument.
The least bad argument.
So they're all bad.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you guys
None of you are professional debaters, but I feel like for me the least bad argument was probably Chris.
I'm feeling the same way. But I'll say why.
I'm so flattered with your kind words.
The least bad, not the best.
I
I'm
know.
glad we agree. Noah, I just feel like, you all made decent points.
The eye
But
test.
the eye test and the points, you made a lot of the points that kind of circled around your like nostalgia and like childhood. Oh, I love watching this when I was a baby. When I was a ginger baby. I don't know. Chris just had the most objective data, and yeah, I'm not like giving all the weight to the ESPN analysts or whatever, but that holds a little bit of weight. Jared, you threw out a lot of numbers, but
Numbers turn you
you
off.
just didn't convince me as much as Chris. No, Chris used numbers, but I don't know.
Well, Jared and I are kind of making the same points, and so we were kind of just probably taking away from each other's individual argument.
Yeah,
But
I didn't
hopefully-
have any smart people to back me up too.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you reference your friends, and we can only assume that they're stupid.
I can confirm that.
Especially because most of his friends are speaking on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Or some of them are.
Then I can definitely confirm that.
yeah, for me the two biggest issues, I guess, with Jared and Noah's arguments was just like,
Why are you loving me with him?
well, more so Noah definitely, but I don't know, just will to win is just, I think it's too subjective, and I think it's not something you can measure at all just based on like how they play, and like for me, I just hate the idea of putting championships in there, which I know you said was like only a minor part, but for me it's just not a factor at all.
I'll say one thing to defend the eye test argument.
You need glasses.
Every December, or at least for the last 2 Decembers, and for the Decembers to come, the college football playoff ranking comes out, and people can dissect the stats all they want, but a lot of times what the analysts say it comes down to is the eye test. Does Alabama look the best? Or the first year, like Ohio State, a lot of people said, they had a very bad loss to Virginia Tech, but the eye test said that the way they were playing at the end of the season was top notch, and they won the championship.
Don't get me
It's
wrong.
also like the most controversial decision every year.
College football playoff
Yeah, but
committee.
they've been right every time. Ohio State eye test got in as the 4 seed the first time, and they won. And everyone's like, well, they shouldn't have gotten in over TCU and Baylor. Anyway, the point is, you can't argue the eye test. You can't argue will to win. You can't argue the eye test because they're totally subjective, and so you can't make it an even playing field for everybody. So, bad argument, yes. But I do buy that you can eye test people generally. You just can't argue it.
You definitely can. I could go out and see LeBron play one-on-one against Drake, and by my eyes, if I had never known either of them, I could say LeBron's a better basketball player. But
Yeah.
it's just when it gets to when we're talking about the 20 greatest basketball players of all time,
Yeah,
it gets a little
agreed.
harder to do so.
All right, I think it's unanimous. We give you the win, Chris. Congratulations.
It's gotta be me and Jared because we're kind of on the same boat.
That's okay.
But it's not
Yeah,
Jared.
we don't like Jared.
Hey, I first guess
Jared
Jared. I'll
won
take the win.
Jedi debate.
No, he didn't. I won the Jedi debate. Mace Windu, baby.
did?
Yeah.
Never mind.
But
Whatever.
I'm
Jared ain't won
I'm
nothing.
really glad you remember it that way, though.
What kind of prize do I get?
Fine, you get second place again. Sorry,
I'm
Jared.
like
Man,
Phil
lots of
Mickelson,
second
man.
places.
Do I get anything?
No.
I thought you think that was funny,
You
Chris.
get a kiss.
Oh.
Ooh, that was nice and sensual.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You can check out the podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Hostel Discourse, or just search Hostel Discourse on iTunes. Make sure to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes. That'll really help out the show, get us up in the rankings. We're already so far up there, but we just want to peak up at number
Wait,
one.
no. Put us at Kobe, like Kobe at number 6.
Yeah, number 6. We
Number 12, I would say. Number 12, 13.
We will see you later. Thank you, Noah, for coming back again, and first time guest Chris. I hope you had a good time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me back.
Hope you're not upset that we took this long to ask you on, because you're a valuable guest.
Yeah, honestly, if anything I get from winning, I'd like to voice my displeasure for not being able to talk about my favorite event of the year every year, the Masters episode.
Maybe next time. Next
3.
year.
Sorry, beggars
4.
can't be choosers, Chris. All right,
Dang it.
see you later.
Bye.
So long.
Bye-bye.